Hello again, airplane model kit builders that like cartoons. So this is the Fokker DR.1 and the Red Baron, probably the most famous ace of World War I. And this is the first of the Sky Kings line from Suyata here. And supposedly you don't need glue, and you shouldn't have to paint it. I would say it is possible to make this without glue, just based off the other one I did, but I glued mine anyways because I'm afraid of losing pieces. Here are the dimensions. Okay, it's actually quite tall. Okay, that's the same. And then here you have a clear fuselage if you want to show off the insides, but I don't trust that clear plastic, so I won't. You are gonna need to paint that character though. Okay. So yeah, the regular fuselage versus the clear. I find these clear plastics very brittle, so, and if this is anything like the last Sky Kings I did, these parts are so tight that I think they're going to crack that plastic as well. So let's take a look at the instructions for you. The water side decals are good. It's a nice instruction manual. So, explanation of the decals. And there are the parts, they're already colored in plastic. And here's some paint recommendations for the character. Okay, so yeah, pretty straightforward stuff, except this time around, I'm gonna pay attention to these part numbers. I'm gonna leave them on the runners because I want to make sure that they're the correct position. Or maybe with only 4 pieces I might be able to, we'll see what happens. There's where the decals go, and that's it. Alright, since I'm not going to use this body, I'll show it off to you guys, but it's not as clear as the Sop with Camo I did. In fact, it's got some minor scratches. Very faint, like frail looking pieces there. Okay, well anyways, that's just gonna go into a bin, maybe like a model kit bash bin or something. Now this is nice, look at this, unexpected. The engine is already painted. On the last kit, I had to paint it all. So that saves me so much time, and hopefully, if this is painted, the holes that these things have to go through are already thinking about the thickness of the paint, but maybe not. I might still have to scrape off the paint from the attachment points, but boy, that's really nice to see. Nice to see some painted parts. Fantastic. I don't know why they chose to not do that with the Sop with Camo. I guess they realized it costs money to paint stuff. So yeah, there's the frame. That is not painted. Oh, but look here, the seat is already painted. It's fantastic. Oh, look at this, the wheels are already painted. Wow, this is awesome. I wish they did this on all the kits, because it saves so much time. And I could never paint it that nice. So, like, somehow they masked that off and painted the red, and then you got metallic down here. You know what? I guess these wooden struts are idiot-proof because they're identical part numbers, so I can clip all the parts off before I put it together. And for such large pieces of plastic, I don't see anything like crazy swirling marks. You know, there's a few, but I think with a matte clear coat, it should be okay, hopefully. One thing I will note is these will prevent the wing halves from, compressing properly. So you got to go through all these wing parts and make sure you don't have any of this extra stuff that's going to get in the way. And also if there's any sort of molding flash. Okay, so here we have the main body of the character, and then a separate jacket, which is easy to paint, so that's good. Even this Iron Cross is a separate piece there. I am going to have to hit that with a marker though. And then the main body. I thought this was damaged in shipping. See, look at this. It's a little bit weak. It's frail there. I think I'll just leave it as it is. You know, a real airplane might have this stabilizer in that position. So, but I have a suspicion that happened from shipping damage. But I'll leave it be. Okay, as usual, I'm going to fast forward this video. You can slow it down or skip to the end, and I'll talk about any sort of problems, but hopefully there won't be any. Okay, we're back here, so let's learn a little bit about the thing from Wikipedia. So this thing started flying in 1917. 320 of them were built, and of course it's a triplane, which made it eventually too slow. They were, superseded by the biplanes. But this triplane was very maneuverable, but sadly it was also very prone to crashing, rolling over during landings, wings breaking. Not the most reliable airplane, it seems. But, the Baron von Richthofen is the one that made this thing famous. As far as the specs of the engine of this thing, it's a 9-cylinder rotary air-cooled, and it makes around 110 horsepower or 82 kW. It doesn't say the displacement, though, on Wikipedia. The empty weight was over 400 kilograms, maybe 580 or so kilograms gross weight with all the fuel and all that stuff. And the maximum speed was 180 kilometers per hour, which is like 110 miles per hour. Let's see, it had a service ceiling of 6,100 meters, or 20,000 feet, a range of 300 kilometers, or 190 miles, and rate of climb was 5.7 meters per second. And I guess that's all I care to learn about. The two guns in front are called machine geweers. Anyways, they're 7.92 caliber machine guns. Okay, so I guess we should talk about Manfred von Richthofen here. I'm going to move this over here. So, let's see here. Born in 1892. We're talking a long time ago. He was a German, I guess. Kleinburg, Prussia. Oh, maybe he was Russian. Well, Prussian, I guess. And then he, perished in 1918. Let's see, he's buried in Germany. And then he served the war from 1909 to 1918. He was a captain. And I'm trying to find out how many. I think he had 17 downings, flying this particular plane. So that's a high amount, I guess. Alright, so I guess that's all I care to learn. You can obviously go Wikipedia yourself and check that stuff out, or maybe a more reliable source even. Now to the model kit. I gotta say, this is the most horrible experience I've had since I started this channel when it comes to building a model kit. This was not fun at all, so I'll obviously explain all of that stuff later. The figure wasn't too bad, and pleasantly it's interesting to find that the jacket here, as well as the arms, as well as the head, are like a soft PVC plastic. Now I do think that maybe the paint will chip off easy because it might flex off, so I did prime this with Vallejo paint. Only the main body is hard plastic, and you can obviously see there's a seam line. The problem with this body is this little, iron cross, although it looks great, you have to put it in from the inside. So, they do that for color separation. But you would have to, mask that off very well if you plan to actually fill in these seams and then paint it after the fact. Which I didn't do. I ended up painting the body, opening it up after it was painted, then putting the iron cross in, and then putting it back. I guess now I could go back and fill in the seams, but I'm just tired of it because I had a horrible experience with the actual airplane. This little cane, or whatever, beating up club or whatnot, is not glued in. It's just there by friction. There's actually even a cutout in the jacket to hold it in place. The head, I guess you can kind of spin it, maybe move it a little bit because it's on a peg. Same with the arms. You could theoretically twist them, but I'm afraid the paint's going to chip off, so I'm going to leave it alone. Okay. It is nice that it comes with the decals for the eyes, because there's no way I could paint that, So that's what we have. A little bit of maneuver posability, but just be careful. I don't know if the paint's going to stick well to such a flexible thing. So now let's get into this very unpleasant experience. The Sopwith camel that it built was pretty well done as far as the design of it. This being the prior model kit, complete opposite. I'm starting to get the impression that this brand Suyata makes model kits but never actually builds model kits. By that I mean, or they never make revisions after they design the thing. They just build it in a CAD program and then just assume it's going to work. And then, you know, the reason is that tolerances, again, are so tight that I had to scrape off a lot of paint. And then some of the parts are so thin, like these, which, like, these pegs are so thin, I am genuinely shocked that I did not break this. And if you do break that peg right there, you are never going to get it out. So I don't know why they would design such a big plane, a cartoon plane, to have such thin and fragile pieces. So another part is this sight of this machine gun. I bent that down. It's very, very thin. They could have made it thicker to exaggerate it. They could have designed everything to be stronger, but they didn't for some odd reason. So you gotta be really careful. And anywhere that parts are gonna fit in, I would highly recommend you scrape the paint off, because you'll never get the part out. You'll just end up breaking it. Another part, like here, the axle of this wheel, it is so thin that I'm pretty sure people are going to be breaking off the axle of this thing. It's nice that it can roll as a toy, I guess. But if this wing is this thick, they could have easily made the axle twice or 3 times as thick, because you don't see the end of it. It's inside this section here. So that's just a poor design decision. It's really strange. These struts are okay, you know, pleasantly they're not too frail. The whole thickness of this goes into the bodies, but this is just a horrible decision. Alright, that's not even the worst part. The worst part is this stuff here. So, minor quibble is the recess of the wood inside these metal brackets isn't very recessed, so there's a good chance you're going to get paint in here. But you can scrape it out, you know. I used a paint marker if you want to go back. The problem with these things is that it has these like little metal brackets, 2 of them in the back and then the front, and they go up into these recesses, as you can see. And there's an air gap. I guess that's realistic to the plane. There's no indication of that in the manual whatsoever. So I had thought that this whole surface was supposed to sit flush with the red surface, like it does on the Sopwith Camel, but it is not. So as I was squeezing this together, I literally the thing just broke. It cammed out, and this piece here, you know, what this is supposed to be, I think the whole thing is inside that recess. But I'd already glued the wings together, so I can't get that out. It's just, again, too tight. I can't get it out. I was very lucky I was able to get this part out. I used some clippers and lightly stroked it out, and then I got that back. But this thing is just broken because, again, the tolerances are too tight, and there's just such frail parts unnecessarily on a cartoon airplane. I really think they should have just not had these things at all, those details, and just had this main spar. Or, you know, this whole thing should just be thicker. But there's only like maybe a 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter piece of plastic holding this little section on, so it's gonna break very easily. And you can see as it messed up, I don't think this is totally vertical. I think this is bowing crooked this way, and I think this one is crooked that way. This one is a little bit better, so but I'm afraid to move it because I think they're gonna snap off. Again, very frail. I'm not done complaining, by the way. Okay, so unlike the Sopwith Camel, this tube here is 2 pieces unnecessarily. I think they did it because they planned to paint them. But you can see the gap, right? So that's unnecessary. And it was impossible to get this thing through this hole. So on the inside surface of this, I took an X-Acto knife and I chamfered it to help guide this thing into these things, but you can still see the seam. So the Sopwith Camel did a better job because it's just 1 piece of plastic. Okay, this thing is so tight in there, I'll never get it out. It does spin, but when I pushed it in a lot, the propeller went in, but this thing stayed in its place because, again, tolerances are too tight. Okay. Now another problem, just like with the Sopwith Camel, is the machine guns. These machine guns are mounted only by these 4 pieces of silver. There's one here, there's one on the other side, and the ones on the right side are like, it's kind of hard to show you. Hold on, especially with the light angle. So this side and the other side are not using the same peg holes. Like, they're staggered. There's like 2 here and 2 over here in front, but staggered. And again, the tolerances are so tight I could never get them to rest. And then even when I did, this opening in the red fuselage, it doesn't line up with this piece of silver. So it's causing a lot of tension and causing it to be crooked. And me trying to fiddle around with that is what made me bend that sight down. So the instructions are also poorly done. They should basically not have you put anything frail on this model until you get all the thick stuff, the strong stuff done first. I think this should have been done maybe last. You know, you could get this in there even with this wing in place. But I was following the instructions and it led to me bending that thing, almost breaking it off entirely. So be mindful of that. Save the machine gun ends for the front. I guess you could put most of the machine gun in there, but just don't put these front caps on until you're finished with the whole airplane. Same with the propeller. I saved that for the very end. Okay, so what else? I saved this for the end after learning my lesson with the machine guns. If you put this on when the instructions tell you to do it, I think you're going to just break it off. This one's fairly robust. These are very thin as well, unnecessarily small, I think. You know, it's a cartoon plane. They could have easily made this twice as thick for durability. And again, I had to scrape the paint off the pegs going into the red fuselage here because there's just no way they're going to go in without me snapping the thing in half. The still a T-shape fit okay. Pleasantly, these 2 skids here, they fit okay, even with the paint on them. What else? One of these things popped out as I was messing around with it, and I don't know, I think the peg is warped, so it doesn't go down as far as this one. That's fine. Oh, okay, so now another problem, or another warning. The white paint that you see here, although it looks nice, if you rattle can this, the rattle can will tear through that white paint. So you can see a little bit of red here, and that's because the rattle can totally tore through the paint. It tore through it so much that it was horrible. This is I went and added probably 10 coats of very thin white Vallejo paint, and it's still not enough. So you can see how pink it is maybe. So don't use rattle can. The solvent tears through this white paint in no time. So if you want to prevent that, after you do this decal, I suggest you use a water-based acrylic like Vallejo Clear, and then you clear coat this a little bit. And then after that, you could rattle can the thing, you know, because the Vallejo will be a barrier. But it was a real pain that I had to go and mask this off and hand paint this stuff because I don't have extra decals, right? I think it would have just been smarter if they made this white box and the decal all one decal. You know, they should have just skipped painting this in the first place and just had a decal with a white and white with the black iron cross. Then it wouldn't be so much of a problem. They did that kind of, it seems like the Sopwith Camel for the rear end here. So maybe again, they could have just had a big white decal with the iron cross already on it, so you wouldn't have this problem of paint tearing through the this white here. I don't know how this one didn't get ruined. I do relatively light coats. So you can see here, there's a bunch of the red shining through the white of the decal even. So that rattle can stuff, it's just probably it's not a good idea. I think you need to clear coat this with hobby acrylic, water-based, and then you could go and use something else. But you can literally, I can see a bunch of red where this should be a totally white border, but it's pink to my eyes. I don't know if the camera is going to show that, but it's not white. Alright, so here you can see this is a white border, and then but all the other ones have a bunch of the red coming through. I don't even understand how that would happen. I mean, this is a piece of thin plastic, but the rattle can for some reason, makes it almost like paint, where it's seeping through. Okay, so, boy, alright, there's so much to complain about. The interior pieces are great. I did glue them because if they ever fell out, I would never get them back in. It was just yeah, I guess that's it for the problems, but it was a lot of problems. And they could have easily designed this differently, so it was more robust. This is definitely not meant for kids. A kid would destroy these parts in no time. I've built hundreds of model kits over my life, and this was a pain. It was a real pain. Okay, so enough with the negativity then. Ah, boy. Once you get past all those annoying design issues and the super tight fit, it looks pretty awesome. I mean, I like the way it looks. Granted, the pink showing through there isn't very appealing, but I don't have a choice here. So I guess we'll just compare it to the other one. So this is, I forget the nickname of it, Brownie. I forget, Roy Brown or something? And he has some credit as to shooting down the Red Baron, although ballistics show that maybe the Red Baron was really killed by ground fire. And so here's the Sopwith Camel, and again, this was so super tight. I had some complaints about that, but it was definitely easier to put this together than this, because the struts don't have such delicate parts, although I do think even these struts could have been twice as thick and it would have looked perfectly fine because it's a cartoon airplane. Let me get these both on the ground at the same height. They're such large models. So the character, they definitely, sit well with each other. If you have a big enough display, they're the same cartoon universe. So I think that's good. This one doesn't have the free rolling wheels. They will spin, but there's a lot of friction. This one does have an alternate bomb. This one doesn't have such delicate gun sights. This one will spin as well, but not like this. Basically, they designed these wheels and this propeller to have another piece on the inside, and that's what allows it to spin more like a toy. Whereas this, they got rid of that stuff because it's a scale model, it's not a toy. Alright, so anyways, it's cool that they made these two subjects because these two literally battled it out in the air, and he came home to survive. Unfortunately, von Richthofen did not, but I guess he's still probably the most popular or famous World War I fighter ace. And then that could possibly be the most famous World War I airplane. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I think. Alright, let me get the stand back here. We'll let this go for one more spin. And just to let you know, I do have the SPAD 13, the last plane, I guess, in the collection. And boy, I as much as I love the appearance of this, it was such a annoying experience to build this thing. Like, I really don't want to make another Suyata product again. It's just, I guess I'm just spoiled by Bandai. Bandai is such a good plastics company. Although I do have to say, if you paint those parts, you might have to scrape off pieces as well. But, yeah, Bandai, their stuff just goes together so much easier. And they have good color separation, and they just don't have ridiculously delicate parts like this thing does. If this model airplane was 3 times smaller than it is, then I could understand, parts so delicate. But this is a huge model, so it should just have huge parts. Okay, so that's enough complaining. I apologize, but I don't want you guys buying expensive, overpriced model kits. This was overpriced because it's out of production. It cost twice as much as the Sopwith Camel kit I bought. And so that also leads to my frustration that I paid double the normal price, and then it had all these problems. So hopefully the SPAD 13, whenever I do decide to make that, hopefully it's it's easier, like the Sopwith Camel was to make. But we'll see, we'll see. And frankly, I hope they never make another one of these things again, because I do like the look of them. I can see myself buying them again, but I really don't want to. I don't want to make this stuff again. They're not a good model company. So this is based on this kit, as well as the posable 1/35th scale little military figures they have. Those are horribly designed as well. You got to glue them together. And I did glue most of this together because I felt that was the only way I could get the thing to stay, these struts to stay in place. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next airplane video. Bye.